I'd like to, I'd like to see that. It's kind of neat to see somebody that hasn't won a race in a while. It's I don't know. It does wonders for the sport or for the series, not to have the same guy winning every week.
Yeah. Well, you had Gravel last week and Kofoid this week.
And then you had Reitzel. He won 2 races in a row.
Yeah, I mean, does that show how good High Limit is, though, or does that show how off pace it is?
No, I guess it's the latter, I think, because we discussed this before where, High Limit's field is full of B mainers,
You think so?
And you probably got five cars that can win a race. Everybody else is a B mainer, in my opinion.
In the High Limit series, if they were full-time outlaws, they'd be B main cars.
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know
they
about
would not
that.
Be
I mean,
in the feature.
You don't think they could outrun Chris Windham?
Chris Windham.
I can name you about 8 guys I think who would beat Chris Windham in High Limit right now. And Chris Wyndham's nailing top 10s. Now, when we're talking about winning, I think that's where maybe yes, but.
Yeah, because, that's what it's about, right? That's what they're there for.
I think B main is a stretch of a comment. I would say there's a lot of top 10 cars in High Limit. There's only 1 or 2 top 5 guys in High Limit. Maybe Brad's a top 5 guy in the Outlaws. But outside of Brad, who's really consistent and that much of a threat to be top 5 almost every week in High Limit in the World of Outlaws right now? I don't think there really is anybody.
No, not very many, no.
I mean, Reitzel was doing pretty damn good in the Roth car the year he ran. But I think he only won 4 races up until that point. I'm not sure what his top 10s were, but, Reitzel's good. I'm not taking anything away from Reitzel, but he ain't. Or he wasn't. I don't think he's maybe he's progressed since then and gotten better. But I don't think it's this big swing since that time. I think he was more national, more racing, week in and week out in that year. Or leading up to.
You hit it right there. The nail on the head was the more national experience.
Yeah, and he's carrying that with him, obviously.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
I'm just saying, I was trying to get some Aaron Reitzel stats here in 2021. So he had 4 wins, but out of 57 races, he only finished in the top 5 16 times. He only finished in the top 10 35. That was in the Roth car, and then he went to the 8 car. But that's when he was back-to-back All-Star Circuit of Champions, champion, racing Tyler Courtney, and that's where he's at now, right? So,
right.
That's the stat from
it's almost like it to me, and I think you might agree, it's almost like High Limit is like a AA baseball, except they got a couple stars, but then, I think you saw this year a few guys left. One of them was Roth. He left High Limit, had a top 5, had a charter, and kicked it to the road like a dead raccoon and said, no, we're just going to run the Outlaws.
Well, and I had a very prominent figure. He randomly said, High Limit. This is a prominent figure. I'm not going to name who or where. I'm not going to say it's a driver, not even, an executive or a CEO. He said, High Limit sucks dick. Weaker than the old All-Stars. PA Posse local competition is tougher than High Limit. Kasey Kahne sucks, and he looks like a superstar out there. He could barely make a fucking outlaw show. And I just, that's what some people over there think.
Well, they're not too far off, are they?
That was pretty harsh. When I read it, I was laughing. I'm like, holy fuck. Oh, God. That's pretty harsh, though, ain't it? To say that?
Yeah.
But is it? You said it's not too far off, so you think it's true, even though it's mean. It's true. It's kind of like looking at me and saying, Chaz, you're overweight. I hate to say it. I might cry, but it's true. I mean.
Well, sometimes. Well, that's the
Or
thing.
instead of saying you're
Sometimes.
overweight, you're a fat ass. If you're skinny, your dick would look bigger. I'm just saying, like
Oh,
this. It was the very mean version of saying you're fat. It was saying, it's very true though. It's got some.
well, sometimes the truth hurts.
So, do you think that the high limit sprint car series is less tougher than the PA sprint PA Posse right now? You think they're saying that the PA Posse local competition is tougher than the high limit series?
No.
You sure?
I'm not going to agree with that. Because there's a lot of the guys that are local Pennsylvania that ever hit the road with the high limit or
I'm not
the
saying that, but if you come to PA to race weekly, for instance, versus going on the road to race high limit, this person's saying it's harder to go to PA and race than it would be to go to the high limit series full time and race. Like it's more tough. I mean, do you see, honestly, this is what I think he's saying. Do you see a world where Kasey Kahne's running second in PA in stiff weekly competition? Do you ever see that happening? I don't know if I could say yes. Exactly.
No.
I think that's his point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And both races this year where he ran second, there was no way in hell he was going to challenge Sweet. No way.
Right. Well, I was trying to think, did he ever run second in the World of Outlaws over the last few years?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
He had two top
really
fives in 2021. I mean, when he took over the Roth car, that's what it shows, two top fives. I'm not sure where he finished, but.
Well, the way they're talking about him, but no, I don't think that that series is going to be, Pennsylvania, yes, okay, yes, the locals against the locals that run it themselves.
Right, that's what he's saying. Yes, like PA Posse, if you come in there into PA, it's harder to run second than it is to run second in high limit, is what he's saying.
I would agree with that part, yes.
You think so? You would put a PA local racing when everyone's there. We'll put that on. Hell, everybody even got to be there. I mean, Steve Buckwalter can hit his ass every now and then in a $20,000 race car. I'm just saying.
Right.
Kasey Kahne going to second. I mean, the guy in the comments saying Kasey Kahne has wins at Lincoln and Williams Grove in the late 90s and 2000s. Wow. So, I mean, he came in.
With the Outlaws?
A weekly competition, I think, is what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Because they were talking about Kahne the other night. He has not won a feature in high limit, of course, and the World of Outlaws.
Yeah, in national sprint cars, yeah.
Correct.
And if he wins in the high limit series, does that actually count? I mean, come on. I mean, I think it does. But let's just say in the mind of Kasey Kahne, I even feel like there is a difference if you set aside all the personals, the KKR, the high limit national series, the alliances, any one of them. If you set him down honest and said, hey, if you want a high limit racing series event, would you feel like that is as impactful or as important or as self-gratifying as if it was a World of Outlaws series event? I would still say, Kasey Kahne's old school enough to know that there still is that difference,